While passing the One Big Beautiful Bill may have been one of the biggest challenges facing this Congress, it took about 6 months. Well, it won't be the last challenge. The Congress now has to turn to the budgeting for the next fiscal year. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson has long expressed his hope for restoring regular order. Now, what's regular order? Well, it's something we haven't seen probably in a couple decades. That is passing the appropriations bills one by one and passing them from the House to the Senate and agreeing on them, sending them to the President, and those setting the policy and the spending. We've been seeing omnibus bills. We've been seeing continuing resolutions. What's ahead for this year? Just less than 2 weeks, less than 24 days of legislative days are left for the House in this session of, well, before the fiscal year ends. And will they have time to get this done? Joining me now to discuss this, Congressman Chuck Fleischmann, who serves on the House Appropriations Committee and the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. Congressman, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Tony, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for what you and your show are doing. I appreciate all the kind accolades for my brothers and sisters in Congress who do what you want done, but it's an honor to be with you, sir.
Well, thank you. It's always great to see you. Let's talk just for a moment. I touched on this, but there's been a real desire to get back to regular order. And this is important because you spend a lot of time on appropriations, and for the most part, it's almost been for naught.
Well, Tony, thank you for raising that. I'm what we call a cardinal, a subcommittee chairman on appropriations. I chair the Energy and Water Subcommittee, but you are so right. We work for months, sometimes for hours a day, trying to get a bill crafted. My bill, the Energy and Water bill, will actually be in full committee for what we call markup for passage. But so many times, because of the failures in Congress, because we don't have regular order, our work will go for naught. Not just my work, but my fellow members on the Appropriations Committee in the House. The Senate has a corresponding committee that does the same thing. But the failures turn up in something that we call a continuing resolution, or, God forbid, even worse, a government shutdown.
So let's talk about that, because I don't put a lot of stock into the Hill press. Because, you know, a lot of them, they're designed just to create angst among people. But they're saying, look, they don't see how Congress is going to get these appropriation bills through the process without having to turn to another continuing resolution. Your thoughts?
Well, thank you. The fiscal year ends September the 30th. The new year begins for Congress for fiscal 2026. October 1st. So the clock does become the enemy. It's going to be very difficult to get that done. We have passed some bills. The Milcon VA bill has been passed. We've had that on the floor. The House has done that. The Senate is working on their appropriation bills this week, or actually next week. The defense appropriation bill will actually be going to the floor. But there's just no way we'll be able to get 12 appropriation bills done by the time September 30th rolls around. So probably a short-term continuing resolution, Tony, probably into early December, so that we would have an opportunity to do regular order and get the House and Senate together, conference a bill that we can send to President Trump for his signature.
Congressman, explain why that is so important, getting back to regular order. Now, again, I know we touched on that, but combined with funding, I mean, where the Bible says where your heart is, your treasure will be also. And our money determines our priorities.
Well, you're so right. Once again, view it this way. A family has a budget, but those needs change year from year. They may add a child, they may have a new job. The needs of the country change year to year. For example, I think we're in a much more dangerous world. Thank God we have President Trump in this position to quell the threats of Iran and an overly aggressive Russia and China. But the reality is The needs of the country change year to year, and Congress is supposed to do its job and address that. If we fail, we get a continuing resolution, which is basically a repeat of the prior fiscal year. So it wouldn't work for a family. It certainly doesn't work for a country. And God forbid, if we get into a situation where we fail totally, and that has happened 3 years in my tenure, in my 15-year tenure in the House, where we've had a government shutdown, and then our troops are at peril because they don't get paid. We have so many different issues. And then, unfortunately, it costs so much more money to reopen the government. So ideally, we will get a budget done with the House, with the Senate, and the president can sign it. At worst, a short-term CR, and get something done maybe by late November, early December. But we owe it to the American people, Tony, to get a budget done. That's our job.
I would agree with that, and I do appreciate those who have been diligently working on that. And I should point out, the House has done a pretty good job in getting those through. They've died, though, in the Senate. Now, we have new kind of leadership in the Senate. We'll see. They still have that 60-vote threshold they've got to go through, so the challenge is still going to be there. About 30 seconds left, Congressman Fleischmann. How can our viewers and listeners be praying for Congress at this moment?
We need to pray every day for our Congress, for our leaders, for the people like us who agree on conservative fiscal and social values. I think that's very important, biblical values. But we've got to pray to God. God's got it. We know that. But good, faithful stewardship, good prayers for our country, making sure that our great republic, that I think is a gift from God to the American people, stays strong now and in the future.
Chuck, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to see you on the program.
Thank you, Tony. God bless you.